welcome to another episode of the pod. But as you know, the name has changed. This podcast used to be known as Sunday Soul Service. And though I have loved sharing a podcast under that name, and when I created the podcast, that name felt so aligned, I'm feeling called to change the name to one that feels more aligned to where I'm at and what I'll be sharing on here. So, welcome to the Living in the Magic podcast. I am so excited to be back and be sharing these episodes with you. On these episodes, I vow to continue sharing the lessons that I'm learning along the way, the nuggets of wisdom I'm picking up, the learning as I go, how I'm figuring things out, bringing you along on the journey, sharing whatever I learn as a way for us to walk this path together. I also am excited for this evolution, this next version of the podcast, to also have some amazing guests on. Some amazing people I've met, people I felt called to connect with, and that is actually how we're back on the pod. Because when I was coming home from Portugal, as we were waiting for the flight to finish boarding, I was on Instagram and I saw a lovely human post that she had something to share and would love to share it on a podcast. And I immediately, without even thinking twice, reached out to her and we set it up. And the reason why I'm sharing that is because there was a part of me that wasn't sure if I should bring back the pod or not, and wasn't sure what kind of the next version of that was. And connecting with her and having us do that interview was enough confirmation to keep going. It was just kind of like, when you just know, when you have those moments where it's just like, okay, I guess I'm doing this again. Or I shouldn't even say again, because this feels like a totally new version. But yes, I am just excited to be back. On today's episode, I'll be sharing the three kind of the biggest lessons I have learned so far in this first half of the year. This year has been lots of transformation, lots of learning, growing, shifting, figuring it out. And because of that, I have so much to share. So the first lesson that I learned this year, and that I hope will be impactful and helpful for you to hear, is I learned that what's meant for you will find you. It will keep knocking at your door. And maybe even me saying that is already making you think of something specific in your life, of something that's been nudging you, that's always in the back of your mind, that you keep saying later, or whatever the story is, or in another life, but it keeps nagging at you, it keeps bugging you. It's still there, and it's still very much alive. I want to share the story of Reiki for me, because Reiki has been one of the most magical, impactful, powerful things that I have had the privilege of learning and becoming a practitioner in. And the story of how I was led to Reiki is very interesting. Reiki showed up for me first when I was at a retreat in Joshua Tree last February 2024. And when we were in ceremony, my blindfold, we were all lying down with blindfolds on. My blindfold slipped a little bit, and I could see Bree and Kristen, the two women running the retreat, doing energy work on everyone. And just seeing it, I was just in awe. I couldn't believe that was real. They just looked like these goddesses, these angels, and I was just completely in awe. And when I would receive energy healing from them, it was just the most incredible feeling. I remember at one point, Kristen came to my head, and it felt like she took all of my worries, all of my thoughts, out of my head and like I shed 1,000,000 pounds. It was this complete release of pressure in my head. And as somebody who can fall into overthinking, like that was one of the greatest feelings ever. So that was kind of my first taste of energy work, of Reiki. And then in the fall of 2024, I received my first Reiki session. And during the session, Bree, the Reiki practitioner, was working on one side and I could feel someone working on the other side. Anytime she would switch sides, there's the other person would switch sides too. Like it was wild. And apparently this is a thing. It's called ghost Reiki or ghost hands. But after the session, I was like, did you feel that? Because that was my first time ever really getting like Reiki where it's just me and it's a private session. And she was like, yeah, there was an older woman here. There's an older woman here, a spirit who was doing it with me. And she said, I feel like you're meant to do this work and that this woman's going to help you, this older woman. And I remember thinking, that's really interesting. And I was really like that like just kind of ignited something or it like it fueled the flames for this curiosity towards Reiki. Later that week, I went for dinner with a friend of mine who's actually a medium as well. And at dinner, she goes, your grandmother's here. And she's standing behind your shoulder. And she wants to let you know that, like, you should continue with Reiki. Like, Reiki is for you. And that she's going to help you. Wild. And of course, I immediately like bawled my eyes out. And at the same time, just to add to the magic, the lights outside turned green. And it was just like this, like, go. Like, this is for you, go. Did I go right away? No. Fast forward a few months later, someone I know reaches out and invites me to take a Reiki course with her. And it didn't work out with the timing of it, so I didn't go. But it again reminded me, okay, yes, right, Reiki. It's still knocking on my door. Just don't forget. And I had at this point also tried to do like an online Reiki course and certification, but it wasn't doing it for me. And so long story short, I end up signing up for this Reiki training retreat. And that was in, I think, February? No, that was in April this year. And when I tell you, that was like one of the most life-changing weekends of my life, I'm not exaggerating. That weekend was wild for so many reasons. Like, you know, when you go somewhere and you just know, like, or you're learning something and it's more of a remembering. It's not a like you're learning from scratch. It's like, oh, right. Like, I remember. I don't know if you've ever had that feeling before, but that's what Reiki felt like to me. And at this Reiki certification retreat, I got to meet the most amazing, amazing people. People who have definitely like connected, soul-aligned people. But I want to share, in the spirit of living in the magic, a story of one of the girls that I met right when I arrived to the retreat. Now, I arrived to the retreat late. Not late. I arrived on time, but not the time I wanted to arrive at. See, to get to this retreat, there's one bridge that you can take that goes into this part of, it's just outside of Niagara, if you know where Fort Erie is. You have to cross this one bridge. Like, people who know. It can be, if you're going on a busy day on a Friday evening, it's a lot. And I miscalculated, like, I gave myself a 20-minute buffer, but turns out I needed a 45-minute buffer. Lesson learned. And I was freaking out on my drive there, where I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna have time to like settle in. I'm gonna get there, it's gonna start right away, like I'm gonna be frazzled. It's not what I had envisioned. And then I just had this voice of like, you're gonna get there when you get there. Like, it is what it is. It's all happening as it should be. So you could get there at this time and be frazzled, or you could get there at that time and just trust. And so that helped calm me down a lot. It's like I'm the time like that. I'm gonna get there at this time no matter what. So how I choose to spend this time is up to me. I can grip the steering wheel and panic and be frustrated, or I can just loosen my grip, literally and figuratively, and trust. When I arrived at the same time as this other woman. And the synchronicities between me and this woman were wild. When we arrived and like we connected really quickly, we like start having dinner. I sit down and a girl, another woman at the retreat goes, "Oh, do you want to sit beside your friend?" I'm like, "Who's my friend?" I came here alone. She's like, "Oh, I thought you were friends with the girl I arrived with." Because that's how quickly we connected. It turns out she lives in the exact neighborhood that I used to teach in Toronto, like literally around the corner from the school I used to teach at. Meaning we could have met many of times. So keep that in mind. Because when we were doing our second attunement for this Reiki certification, there was a very intuitive woman who was taking notes of kind of what was coming through during the attunement processes, which the attunements are the most magical thing. I'll circle back to that because I do want to fill you in on that. So as we're doing our attunements, there's a woman who's taking notes who is a psychic medium, who's very intuitive. And she shared at the end of the retreat that me and the girl who I arrived with have spent many past lives together and are connected. So first of all, whoa. I mean, I could already tell that just with our connection and how like weird these synchronicities are, and how I literally could have met her a million times. I could have walked past her. Like, what are the chances? Especially because it's not like this retreat was held anywhere near that neighborhood. So, like, that was wild and confirmation. But during the attunements, I was able to see how I had been led to this exact moment to Reiki, to be attuned, to become a Reiki practitioner. I literally, in the attunement, could see my ancestors, my team of light, my past loved ones, people who are just like cheering me on, my guides, all on the lawn in front of me. And it was just how proud they were that I made it to this point in this lifetime. And that was really something that was coming up too with Reiki at the certification, was this like, we are so lucky to be able to practice this and offer this in this lifetime. Because not, when we think of how this kind of work has been feared or dismissed or hidden or punishable, even, like the fact that we can so freely offer this is such a privilege. And I just feel so connected to it, and very ancestral as well. That was another thing that came up in the healing, was again my grandmother, and this knowing that this has been something that's in my ancestry, that's in my lineage, to continue practicing. So yeah, there's just a lot of emotion around it. I often cry even when I talk about Reiki, just because it's like, it really is the most beautiful thing. And I just feel so privileged to be able to be connected with it now. And I think that's the thing, like when it's meant for you, it'll keep coming up, right? And then when you are there, when you say yes and you align with it, whew, that knowing, that soul connection is absolutely incredible. and that feeling, like, you know. So not only is what's meant for you, it'll find you. It'll keep knocking at your door. It'll get louder and louder. So that when you say yes and you align to that, you know, that is like a full emotion, a full living in the magic, the confirmation. Like, I could do a whole episode just on what happened at that Reiki retreat. So, lesson number 1. Lesson number 2 is that the bridge already exists. This has been a lesson that I've been learning, I would say, the past year now. It is something that I keep coming back to whenever I am kind of getting in my head, wondering the how. I strongly believe that if you have a desire, the bridge to get you there already exists. I don't think we're given desires or like these ideas or these ways of serving if there's not a way for us to bring it to fruition. And I think what happens is we get so tripped up in the how. I don't see the bridge. I don't see how it will work out. I don't see how it could be possible for me. You don't see it because your mind isn't designed to see the miraculous. Like, your mind is designed to keep you in the familiar, to keep you in what it knows. And so just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not possible or doesn't exist. It just means that you haven't seen it done before for you. Like, we have such a limited perspective, such a limited idea of what's possible and the ways that things come into fruition. I'm sure you can think of times in your life where things worked out or things happen where you're like, I didn't even predict that. Like, I didn't even know that could be an option. I didn't even predict that possibility. That wasn't on my bingo card, right? It's like we have such a limited understanding of how things can happen. And it's allowing ourselves to expand that, what we think is possible, to expand the how, and trusting that there is a bridge already constructed for you. You just need to keep taking one step in front of the other, one step after the next, right? It's only when we're on the other side of the bridge and we've made it and we look back where we see how all the little pieces lined up to get us there. That's the only way we can actually see the bridge, is being on the other side. And an example of this is when I signed up for the Portugal retreat that I went on in June, in June. I wasn't sure how I was going to afford it, but I just saw it and I knew I was meant to be there. Like, there was no hesitation on that end. Like, you know, when you just know, and then your reasonable mind comes through and it's like, but can you really do that? Is that responsible? Should you really be doing that? But you just can't ignore this feeling. It's like, no, this is like a full body yes. Like, this is a green light, let's go. Anyways, I booked it in January and I just asked to be on a payment plan. And 3 months into the payment plan, I had money come in where I could actually just pay the rest of it off, which was amazing. So there's a bridge I didn't see coming. It wasn't money that I thought necessarily was coming in. And then I bought my flight there on points, but I didn't have enough points to fly home. So again, I'm thinking like, okay, I'll just watch the flights. We'll see what happens. I'll figure it out. You know, it is what it is. And so I was watching these flights. And then one of the flights, I get a notification a week before I'm supposed to leave that my return flight has dropped. And I realize that it's on a sister airline of the airline I have points with. And so I go to my points app and it's dropped the exact amount of points I had left. So done, booked that. The bridge already exists. Which I'm sharing this because I was starting to get frustrated and like scared about, okay, I still don't have a flight home and I'm a week away. Like, do I just bite the bullet? And I almost bought a flight that I would have to leave the retreat at like 3 o'clock in the morning, would have a layover. It just like wasn't ideal. And I'm so happy I didn't push my agenda of what I thought was the best possible outcome. And I trusted because I got a direct flight with my points, which was incredible. The caveat was, though, that this flight left 4 days after the retreat ended. So now I'm like, okay, now I have to figure out how am I going to stay in Portugal? how's this going to work? Also, how am I going to get to and from the retreat? Because the retreat was a couple of hours away from Lisbon and from the airport. On top of that, I was like the last person to land. And so everyone was already going to be at the retreat when I landed. Seems to be a theme around that. But there was this lovely, lovely woman named Emily who decided to wait. And we ended up sharing a rental car. And on top of that, she happened to be in Lisbon the exact amount of days I was in Lisbon. So we also shared accommodations. Like it got to be that easy. And on top of that, we connected so well. Like our 2.5 hour car ride went like that. She also happened to grow up literally across the river from where I grew up, even though she's American. I grew up in Windsor, she grew up in Detroit. Like just these weird synchronicities. Again, same situation. And just like trusting the magic and trusting that that bridge exists. And anytime I would find myself getting anxious about that, of like, okay, how am I going to afford this? How is this going to work out? How am I going to get to literally point A to point B? I just kept reminding myself I wouldn't have this, I wouldn't have this like big tug to go to this retreat if the bridge didn't already exist. Like it was so clear to me that I was meant to be there. And knowing that I was meant to be there, I know that the bridge exists. I wouldn't have had that knowing if the bridge didn't already exist. And so I just kept reminding myself that the bridge exists, the bridge exists. And I was shown time and time again how, where the bridge existed. And in ways, again, I couldn't have predicted. I couldn't have predicted that a girl from Detroit from the retreat was going to be my roomie in Lisbon. I couldn't have predicted that the perfect flight home, even though it left 4 days later, was going to drop to the exact amount of points I had. I didn't even think using my points was an option at this point. So, let the universe surprise you. Try not to control and get in the way. Instead, trust if you have been given this nudge, this desire, this dream, the bridge exists. Now, that doesn't mean I just sat there and was like, oh, I hope it happens. What it means is I followed those nudges. So it was like, I could have booked that flight, but then I followed the nudge of, nope, don't do that. Trust. At one point, I was going to even change my flight to get there earlier to go with the girls who were there. And it was like, no, I trust that the bridge exists and that does not feel right. So I'm trusting that it's going to work out. Okay, let me reach out to this girl and see if she'll ride with me. Let me see if she wants to share a hotel. That feels right. That feels like the right next step. So the bridge exists. Don't force. Trust that feeling and follow the nudges. That's lesson 2. You kind of got a 3-in-1 in that one. The final lesson that I've been learning so far this year is the power in remembering who you are. I truly, truly think that that is the key to it all. It's funny because I almost didn't film this episode tonight. I was kind of in my head and just feeling a little low, and I was just kind of like, maybe I'll do it another day this week. Does it even matter? You know, those stories. And then I remembered who I am. I remember that I have something here that I want to share. When I say remember who you are, it's really just a closing of the gap of who you are pretending to be right now and who you believe you are. And when I say who you believe you are, I mean the version of you that you desire, the version of you that you are calling in, the version of you who, like, you dream about, future you, your higher self. In my humble opinion, I believe that your higher self is you, and that the belief that you are not her is the illusion. That's where the work lies. It's It's what are these stories that has you believing that you're not her? What are the thought patterns? What are the behaviors? What are the habits? What are those things that are making you think that you aren't her, you don't deserve to be her, you couldn't be her? That's where the work lies to break that illusion. You're not pretending to be her. Not being her is pretending. That's the illusion. And so closing the gap between you and who you desire to be is realizing that there is no gap. That's the first step. You are already her. It's the uncovering of that. It's not a going out and becoming, it's a unbecoming what has you believe, unbecoming what's not her. The programming, the beliefs, the thoughts that have you believing otherwise. The reason why I think that is the most powerful and impactful thing you can do, this remembering, is because when you remember who you are, things become so much clearer. When you remember who you are, you take those next steps. Right? It's like when you can remember who you are, it's no longer like, oh, I don't know what I should do next. It's like, I know, like that clarity is there. I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm good enough yet. I know I am. Let's go. Because when you remember who you are, it's like you're unstoppable. It's no longer, okay, am I ready? Am I good enough yet? It's like, of course you are. What a silly question. Am I enough? It's this remembering that you are whole. It's this remembering that you are a creator. It's a remembering that why you're here. When you remember who you are, one of the byproducts of that is that your next steps become clearer because there's not as much noise in the way. When you remember who you are, your life starts to shift to reflect that because you remember what you deserve. You remember what you desire. You remember that you are responsible for your life, that you are a co-creator in your life. You move differently, you show up differently. And I just think about if we all remembered who we were and how powerful we are, how amazing we are, how much we have to offer this world. Can you imagine the shift that this world would experience? It's kind of incredible and mind-blowing when you think about it. Because we're all connected and we all have ways to support and serve. If you were looking for any support on that remembering, any clearing of the illusion or clearing of any blocks that you feel like are holding you back and really tapping into that energy that you're calling in, the confidence, the peace, the trust, I highly recommend booking an energetic upgrade session. These are Reiki sessions that guide you to release. We clear it out of your field, out of your body, and then we integrate the energy you're calling in into your body, into your cells, into your field. This is part of the shift. This is the remembering. This is the recalibration. This is the reset. I also get a lot of messages in these sessions that I share. And those, like when you're in the session, you receive messages as well, which I find have been very impactful. And I also see your highest self, your true self, your essence in these sessions as I'm in your energy. And it's such a gift to be able to reflect her back to you and to help you remember. So yeah, if you want to book a energetic upgrade session, I'll put a link below. Other than that, there will be an episode coming up soon with a special guest. If there's anything you want me to talk about specifically on the pod or any guests you would love for me to interview, let me know, send me a DM. And if you have any questions or you want to talk more about anything we've chatted about today, yeah, my DMs are always open. I was just about to end the podcast without pulling a card. So let's pull a card for the collective. Anybody listening to today's episode? Any final message that wants to come through? If you were at the Just Freaking Do It workshop, you're gonna laugh. We got card 37 again, which you may or may not know is my number. So card 37. It says truth. That which is true will always be enough. Truth, honor, knight, empress, integrity. Abundance happens when I honor my soul and live in truth. Feels aligned. The honest path, the honorable knight, the noble empress, the liberation of self. The highest view can be seen once we have reached the mountain peak. And what a breathtaking view it is. A grueling climb that requires strength and perseverance can lead to a feeling of total freedom. This is what it feels like to set yourself free by the power of truth. Fulfillment on the level of soul and wholeness of self. Regardless of what the world may see, you have earned your own sight. The path to authenticity is not an easy one. There are temptations all around. The witch's lair calls you near. Dark forces seek to make you stray from your path, to neglect your true self, discard your values, and dishonor your soul. Some people even choose the easy path, selling their soul in exchange for a shortcut to the top. This never works. This is the false self, the starving ego. For when they reach the peak, their view is obstructed by thick fog and mountain mist. They become cursed by the one who lured them in. They will never see the view. Only living truly can earn this gift of sight and fulfillment. The truth card is about living with honor, integrity, and authenticity, and having goodwill towards humanity, being a real gem in a world full of fake stones. Shining by your own light rather than relying on the reflections of others. It is to validate yourself fully. It is to honor the callings and higher truths of your soul, even when faced with temptation. Drawing this card can be a sign that you are currently navigating this path. You are indeed on a quest for truth. Living authentically has become a core value of yours. If you continue in search of this highest honor, you will surely be rewarded in priceless ways. Perhaps if you continue to live within the space of truth, you will achieve an abundance you never could have imagined. It is not dishonest to wish for true wealth in the metaphysical and physical world. Manifestation enhancer. Visualize yourself on the peak of the mountain. Imagine you feel total fulfillment, wholeness, and peace of mind. You are giving spirit a hug every time you choose truth. Truth is spirit, and authenticity is the language of the soul. Meditate on the concept of the universe and spirit reciprocating true abundance every time you choose to honor your soul. I think this feels pretty aligned with what we talked about today. And I think this is good homework for anyone listening, tuning back in. And yeah, what is that thing that keeps nudging you? Can you trust that the bridge is there? And can you remember who you are? That is all for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to connecting again soon. Have an amazing rest of your day, and we will chat soon. Bye.